This time on shift points. It's running. Couple of good things that have happened over the past couple of days. We're back working on the red 55 truck, and we got the heater box all back together. We were never able to find any sort of leak with that heater core, so we've put it all back together. We're going to try and put the hose on. We're going to use just regular old hose clamps on those fittings inside and see if that's what's causing our issue, if maybe those heat shrink fittings didn't get shrunk enough to clamp up like they were supposed to, even though they had to be cut off. So we got that back together. We're gonna get this put back in place here in just a minute. The other good thing is our new fuel injectors have got here. So Fuel Injector Connection is who we got these from down in Georgia. They got them here really quick, honestly. We ordered them on a Thursday evening. They had them here by Monday. So these will all go back in. We've run a bunch of carburetor cleaner through the fuel rail here to try and get all this stuff out. You can still see a little bit of residue. We're gonna Dad's taking some Q-tips right now and just cleaning all these out really well before we put the new injectors in. We run Lucas fuel injector cleaner in basically everything that we drive. So the fuel that we put in that fuel tank has a bunch of that in it already, and we'll just keep a steady supply of that in it for a good while and make sure that nothing gums up or anything that might still be in this fuel rail, even though we've cleaned it as much as we could. We'll make sure that none of that gets into the engine. So I'm going to go ahead and get this heater box put back in place, and then we'll put the injectors in. This time the truck is going to crank. Knock on wood. Don't say it.
Don't say that.
Why not?
Cause.
Alright, so.
Oh?
Yeah.
You got them here. Tighten them some of the guns up. Don't put them leak no more if we can do that.
So we got the heater box back in, got the heater hoses connected back up, hose clamps on each side of the hoses now, just as an extra precaution. Now we're gonna get the injectors put on the fuel rail and get that put back on the engine here. And Dad's putting just a little dab of grease on the O-rings, so make the install a little easier. Get all those put in place. And these, you kind of have to think about the direction that you put these in, because you got to get the plug put in for the PSI harness has to be able to plug into the injectors for each one of them. So being careful about the direction for each one. All right, we're back again. It's gonna start this time. He doesn't like it when I say that. It's gonna start this time. We've got fluids back in it, we've got the heater core back in it, we've got all the injectors back on it, fuel rails back on it. So now battery's already hooked up. We've got transmission fluid here ready. We've still got the 4-course we put in it, but it looks like it's almost full already, but we'll see how after it runs and everything. So next thing we're gonna do is just go in here and flip the switch on and see if it primes and then see if it starts. So that's what I'm gonna go do.
Watch everything.
Alright, I'll watch everything. Get up here. Told you. transmission fluid coming out of these lines right here?
Oh. Did it have oil pressure?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Second crank.
I don't know what that is.
One to call them.
I did not get to see the oil pressure. I saw the smoke coming out of the.
Yeah, it's true.
Swapping loose, huh?
That's
It
what
was
it was.
loose.
That's what I'm saying. This is loose right there.
No,
too.
this is loose.
They're
Turn it up.
both loose.
What-
This was loose.
Now the oil pressure goes up.
Your work ticking.
I need to brick ribbons.
Run, you'll be in a good mood.
You know, when I'm doing stuff like this, I've got 30 things on my mind, and I get ill. That's my default, to get ill.
No.
Put the wrench on that fitting where you want it. I can't see it.
We just watch everything else. All right, ready?
See what the oil pressure is. Crank it. See what the oil pressure is. Smoke on the head, that's the coating on the header.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Now, man, I'm gonna check this. You got any temperature yet?
No, not yet. That works.
What?
That works.
I did. There's 6 quarters in it. What's the temperature?
Below 140.
What?
Below 140, it hasn't come up at all.
That's a good thing. You get that on the camera and crank it?
That's recording right now. It's recording now.
No water leaking out of there on it.
No.
Still showing water.
Feels like we got power steering.
Dude. Motor's like quiet.
Super quiet.
Ain't for setting as long as it has.
That lifter's quieting down too.
Like they set that long. Ain't no water.
Oh, I know. So the smoke coming off here is just the coating that's on these exhaust manifolds, these hooker exhaust manifolds. So that smoke is normal. That's adding transmission fluid. I'll bring you in here and show you the gauges and everything. Down here And look, you got about 40 pounds of oil pressure, which is really normal with these, super normal with these. Fuel gauge does look like it's working. It's just above empty. We've got about 5 gallons or so in the tank. Battery is up above 13 volts, probably about 14 volts. Again, very normal. Temperature is coming up, so we're just about, what's that, 55, so 22, so see, like almost like 150 right now, right around 150. And if I come over here, I'll show you here, if you look at the tack here at the bottom, when I rev the engine up a little, you can see that tack coming up. When we first started it, everything sounded really good. It had just a little bit of a lifter tick, but man, this thing's been sitting for 7, 8, 9 years. This engine has, so it's not surprising. But if you listen, that tick's gone away. So I mean, everything's got good oil pressure. All the lifters are ticking how it's supposed to, or it shouldn't be ticking. So it's all good there. I don't know if you saw it or not, but we had to stop initially. We had these 2 fittings right here. I had not tightened these 2 fittings. So we had a bunch of transmission fluid coming out of there. For those that don't know, transmission fluid is one of the scarier fluids as far as anything to be leaking. Transmission fluid is like super flammable. So when I saw that pouring, I started to see some smoke down there. I wanted to get it shut off right away and get that cleaned up and get those tightened up. So that's all good now. Man, it just sounds so good. I mean, it sounds like really good. You can tell this is a big event because if you look back here, you can see my podcast co-host Jackson back here. He wanted to be here when we fired this thing. He really likes this truck. I'm just really excited. The next thing I really have to kind of watch is we're going to watch the temperature when it gets around, I think it's like 185, 190, I think is where PSI programs it. We should see the fan come on. So that's kind of the next thing. I'm waiting for this thing to get some temperature and make sure the fan comes on. And those are the huge things as far as of all the wiring that went on with the fuel pump, the fans, you know, making sure that everything was connected, all these gauges were connected properly and everything. That was a huge part of the wiring of this truck. So when those fans come on, we'll know that that's good. And I really have checked like all the really major boxes for wiring, and that makes me really happy that everything worked like it was supposed to. Sounds good, don't it, Jackson?
Yeah,
yep.
Very good. Nice, huh?
Yeah. Okay. What'd you say? I think it comes on at like 185 or 190.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Let's give it up on 195.
Probably 195. PSI program your PCM, your fans will come on at 182 and 192 respectively. So we've only got one fan though. I don't know which one it'll come on at.
Son, you're doing good.
So I had the fans hooked up wrong, so we're pretty sure that fan must have been sent as a pusher, and so we swapped the leads on it so it would turn the other direction. So now the fan is blowing back toward the engine like it's supposed to be. I had one of the control wires wired wrong, so I wasn't getting so it wasn't turning on when it was supposed to. When I got that wire put back in place, it turns on like it's supposed to. We got our HP tuners hooked up to it, and so we have this set up now, and I'm just kind of looking at this. We're looking at the live data on this truck right now as it runs. So you can see our engine RPM, we're idling right around 600 RPMs. The thing that we're really watching right now is this coolant temperature. So the fans turn on at 195 according to the program, but right now we're really not we're not getting much cooler than that. So the fan's pretty much running constantly at this point. It's actually heated up a couple more degrees. We're back up to just over 200. So we're looking at that and trying to figure out what's going on with it. If there's a way to change these temperatures a little bit. The stock thermostat in these engines is 186. You guys saw us put that in some of the previous videos, or 189, and we put that in. That's what we have in it right now. So we don't know if, because of if you look at the PSI notes, it says that if they have programmed it, which they supposedly did, we have the PSI program, fans will be set to come on at 182 and 192 respectively. So that's if you have two fans, but we've only got one fan on this truck, so it's coming on at that 195, which is where it's programmed to come on at. The question is, will that thermostat ever allow it to let the fan turn off? So that's what we're trying to figure out right now. But I wanted to show you guys this HP Tuners. It's pretty cool. There's all kinds of, I mean, there's way more stuff than I even know what's in here, to be honest with you. You can see the throttle position. So it's sitting here at this 18%. That's normal because that throttle body has to be open some to let air in, of course. Let's see, what else do we have in here? So we're still sitting at that 201 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see, trying to figure out what else. So you got your voltages on your O2 sensors. Engine coolant temp, there's that engine coolant temp. Clearly the engine oil temp's not right. It's definitely not negative 40. I am going to go ahead and shut this thing off though, because it's starting to get a little warm at that 203. I'm going to go ahead and shut that off and let it do its thing. But like I said, this has all these graphs and everything's generating, and to be perfectly honest with you, it can do a lot more than I know what to do with it. But so really we're just trying to figure out the cooling system a little bit. It'd be really, well, the big thing, I don't want to go crazy until we get it on the road and actually start driving it, because if we don't, we won't ever know, you know, what's going on with it when it's actually on the road. But like sitting here like it is right now, we're a little worried about it possibly getting hot sitting in traffic. But let's see what it does when we get it out on the road. So we adjusted the temperature the fans come on to kind of do a little better, because the fan was running constantly. But like I said, that was we think that was because of the temperature thermostat we had in this thing. So we bumped that up a little, and the fuel tank started. You can see some air coming out of it. I don't know if it probably won't do it as soon as I get the camera on. Did it? Anyway, we're definitely seeing some bubbles coming up, so there's some air in the system, so that's a good thing. Get that air out, that's gonna help this thing run cooler, of course. So we got all this, we got everything kind of lined out. So if you take like a Tahoe or like whatever we have now, those things set in idle, no matter what the temperature is outside, they're setting at 210. 210 all the time. I mean, they work really, really good. That's what we want this thing to do. We want it to be right back. So I got into the tune, messed with where the temperature was, what temperature the fans were coming on and everything. And then it'll go up to I've got it set to where it comes on at 225. So at 225, the fans kick on and they turn off at 221. So there's about a 4-degree delta there. And then, but these things will run. It's pretty crazy. We're really happy about it. This thing will turn on at 225 and turn off at 221. The fans run for 36 seconds, and at that point the fans are turning back off. It cools it from 225 down to 210 and then starts to cycle back over again. It's like I said, 36 seconds. That's just really, really good. So the cooling system is definitely doing what we wanted to do. I'm gonna wait and let this thing, I'll let you hear it cycle whenever and let you see the temperatures as well. So we're at 223. It should be kicking back on just about any time now. We're looking at this number right there. So there's the fan kicking on. Now you go back and look at the video and see how long that ran. So my stopwatch said 36 seconds. Now if we get in here, you can see it already dropped it down to 214, and it's gonna keep dropping 212. We should get one more drop here at 210. So now the cycle's about to start itself back over. It's gonna start climbing back up again. But that's exactly where these things run in any other thing, any other thing that we've had with these engines in it. Let's check this out here, and you can see the gauge here is reading just over 195. So the gauge is reading a little cooler than what we're actually seeing on the computer itself, but really happy with this, with how this cooling system's working. I want to thank the guys at Auto Plumb for helping us get that. So that's just really good. When we messed with the cooling a little bit more, we're really happy with where it's running. I think we're going to leave it right where it is for right now, especially until we can get it out and actually drive it down the road and see how it acts. Well, it's been, what is today? Today's March the 16th. The 16th of March. First video went out on the 6th of January. It was when our first video happened. So 2.5 months it took us, working pretty consistently on this thing, but now it's running. So thanks everyone for joining Shift Points again. We're gonna keep working on this thing. Next thing we're gonna do is get everything in the front suspension tightened up and get the springs in, shocks in, and then we'll get to do our first drive. So this was a big kind of milestone, getting it started, making sure everything wasn't leaking. We had a couple drips and leaks in a few little places, had to tighten some stuff up. But really, in general, once we got those injectors in, no more problems at all so far. So we worked with the coolant a little bit, and that was the biggest thing we did, but that's really just a kind of a personal preference on our side. Man, like I said, it's a big deal. We're really excited. I know me and Dad probably don't show our excitement on camera probably as much as some people probably do, but we're both really excited about it. So thanks for joining, and if you don't care, whenever that pops up at the end, right in the middle, circle in the middle, if you'll click subscribe, it makes a big difference to us on this channel. And if you want to keep up with kind of what we're doing out through the week, just go ahead and follow us on Facebook and Instagram too. We try and keep everyone updated as we go, a little bit at a time, but that's the best that we can do on everything. So thanks for joining again, and we'll see you next time.